Have you ever noticed something strange? The moment you stop texting first, the moment you give her some breathing room, she suddenly goes ice cold on you. You didn't ghost her, you didn't play games, you just stepped back. And now, radio silence. What's really going on here? Look, if you're confused right now because a woman you care about just went completely quiet on you, you need to understand something crucial. This isn't random. This isn't her losing interest. In fact, what I'm about to reveal might completely flip your understanding of female psychology. Because when she starts pulling away, when she becomes distant even though things were going great, there's a hidden test happening that most men completely fail without even knowing it exists. And hey, if you want to master this and stop losing amazing women to preventable mistakes, hit that subscribe button right now. We break down real psychology here, not pickup artist nonsense. Here's what doesn't make sense to most guys. You finally stop chasing. You give her the space everyone says women want. You pull back your energy just enough to focus on yourself again. And instead of things getting better, she seems colder, more withdrawn. Almost like you offended her by not being needy. Your brain starts spinning. Did I do something wrong? Is she seeing someone else? Should I reach out and explain myself? Here's the problem. Men are programmed to read distance as rejection. We think in straight lines. If she cares, she should move closer, right? She should be warmer, more responsive, more affectionate. So when the opposite happens, every instinct tells you to fix it, to send that paragraph text, to ask what's wrong, to chase the connection back into place. But that instinct, that's exactly what destroys what was quietly building between you. What most men completely miss is this. Emotional distance doesn't always equal emotional loss. Sometimes it signals emotional weight. Sometimes it means her feelings are intensifying faster than she knows how to handle. Women don't experience attraction like we do. We're wired for consistency. Interest builds, connection deepens, things progress logically. But for women, attraction comes in waves. One day she's completely into you, texting back instantly, laughing at everything you say. The next day, she needs space, becomes cautious, pulls back emotionally. This isn't immaturity. This isn't her playing mind games. It's a natural response to emotional intensity. When feelings start to actually matter, emotional risk enters the equation. And with risk comes self-protection. The deeper she feels, the stronger her instinct to slow things down internally. Her heart might be racing forward while her mind is slamming the brakes. Here's what changes everything. The silence you're experiencing right now might not be disinterest. It could be internal conflict on her side. It could mean something real is developing, and that terrifies her. When a woman starts falling for you, something shifts that you can't see from the outside. It's not just excitement, it's awareness. The moment she realizes you actually matter to her, you've just activated her emotional defense system. Not because you messed up, because you did something right. Strong feelings create vulnerability. Vulnerability creates risk, and risk triggers protective instincts. When she feels herself losing control emotionally, her first move isn't always to get closer. Often it's to step back and regain her balance. This is where guys lose the plot completely. They think distance means declining feelings. But in reality, distance often appears precisely because those feelings are growing. She's not pulling away from you. She's pulling herself back from the intensity of what she feels when she's around you. If this is making sense so far, do me a favor and drop a like on this video. It helps more men discover this content and stop sabotaging great connections. Here's something that'll blow your mind. When she goes quiet, she's not just creating distance. She's watching you. Silence becomes an unintentional test, not of how much you care, but of how stable you are without constant reassurance. She's not sitting there consciously planning this. It happens naturally as she steps back and observes your reaction to the absence of her attention. Your response gives her information she could never get through words alone, because words can be rehearsed, reactions can't. She notices if your entire vibe shifts the moment she becomes less available. She notices if you start texting differently, if anxiety creeps into your voice, if you become emotionally reactive or impatient. She's watching to see whether your confidence depends on her responses or whether it exists independently. Most men completely bomb this test because they don't even know they're taking it. They flood her inbox with explanations. They ask for clarity she never requested. They try to fix the discomfort through words and emotional effort, but what they're really doing, they're answering a question she never asked out loud. Can this man remain solid when I'm not emotionally present? Can he hold his center without needing me to validate him? The biggest mistake you can make right now is abandoning your center. The second she creates distance, most guys lose their grounding completely. Instead of staying calm, they react. Instead of observing the situation, they start pursuing harder. Instead of remaining stable, they try to force connection through attention and emotional pressure. They write long messages explaining their feelings. They over-communicate to fix their own discomfort. And here's the brutal truth. None of that demonstrates strength. It demonstrates dependence. A man who can't stay steady during silence unconsciously broadcasts that his confidence is fragile, that his emotional balance depends entirely on her behavior, that without her reassurance he starts unraveling. This confirms the exact fear she's trying to resolve internally. Would getting closer to this man feel safe, or would it feel overwhelming? Listen carefully. Remaining calm isn't indifference. Remaining silent isn't punishment. Remaining grounded is power. When you can stay emotionally consistent, even when her attention is withdrawn, you demonstrate that your value isn't situational. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to chase. And before we go further, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? This channel is dedicated to helping you understand women without the manipulation tactics. Real psychology, real results. Hit subscribe. So what does she actually need when she pulls away? Most men think she needs reassurance, explanations, or grand gestures. Wrong. What she needs is something far simpler and far harder for most men to provide. Stability. Not verbal stability, emotional stability. She needs to feel that your sense of self doesn't rise and fall based on her attention, that your confidence doesn't evaporate the moment she goes quiet, that your life, your direction, your inner calm remain completely intact whether she's close or distant. She doesn't need constant check-in texts. She doesn't need repeated confirmations of your interest. She doesn't need emotional pressure disguised as concern. What she responds to is energy, not words, presence, not pursuit, calm, not intensity. Giving her space while staying emotionally available shows maturity. It demonstrates that you respect her internal process without withdrawing in resentment or chasing out of insecurity. This balance is rare, and that's exactly why it stands out. When you can allow distance without panic, you become safe, not boring, not passive, safe in the deepest psychological sense. And when her nervous system relaxes around that safety, closeness becomes something she chooses, not something she feels pressured into. Now, here's a critical distinction you need to understand. There's a massive difference between a woman who's pulling away and a woman who's leaving. When a woman is actually leaving, the shift is obvious. Communication becomes flat, detached, completely final. There's no curiosity, no emotional charge, no observation. She doesn't watch your reactions because she genuinely doesn't care about the outcome anymore. The connection just fades. Pulling away looks completely different. There's distance, yes, but there's still awareness. She might become quieter, slower to respond, emotionally reserved. But she's still noticing you. She's watching how you move through life. She's observing whether your energy changes. The silence feels charged, not empty. Both situations involve less attention, which is why guys panic. But only one involves genuine emotional investment. Learning to recognize this difference allows you to respond with intelligence instead of fear. And intelligence in moments of uncertainty is infinitely more attractive than urgency. So how do you actually pass this moment? It doesn't require strategy, manipulation, or emotional performance. It requires self-control. The test isn't about doing more. It's about not doing what your insecurity is screaming at you to do. Here's what passing looks like. You remain grounded. You continue living your life with intention. You focus on your work, your health, your goals, your routines, not to prove something to her, but because your life already has direction. You don't withdraw out of bitterness. You don't chase out of fear. You simply stay steady. Emotionally, you regulate yourself. You notice the urge to text for reassurance, and you choose composure instead. You allow the space to exist without attaching desperate meaning to it. This signals something powerful. Your internal state isn't dependent on her availability. Energetically, this creates contrast. She feels the absence of pressure. She senses that you're unchanged, that you're solid, and that calm consistency answers her unspoken question more clearly than any words ever could. The secret is patience. Silence doesn't require an immediate response. Time reveals intention. And when she feels that your presence is solid, even in her absence, trust begins replacing doubt. You pass the test not through effort, but through stability. Here's a paradox most men struggle to accept. The harder you chase, the more pressure you create. And pressure absolutely kills desire. When a woman senses that you need her attention to feel secure, attraction slowly erodes. Real desire grows in space. Space allows for reflection, emotional processing, and curiosity. When you don't rush to fill every gap in communication, she actually feels the weight of your absence. And absence, when combined with emotional stability, creates gravitational pull. This doesn't mean becoming emotionally unavailable or playing games. It means staying whole without demanding constant closeness. The man who can do this communicates strength effortlessly. His calm creates natural tension. His restraint creates intrigue. The paradox is beautiful in its simplicity. The less you try to force attraction, the more naturally it develops, not through manipulation, but because desire responds to confidence, not neediness. And confidence is most visible when nothing is being demanded. So how do you actually become emotionally unshakable? It's not something you fake, it's something you build. Step 1. Separate your self-worth from external validation. Her replies, her attention, her moods cannot be the foundation of how you see yourself. Start with awareness. Notice when silence triggers anxiety in you. Don't suppress it, just observe it. The moment you can watch your emotional reaction without immediately acting on it, you've regained control. Step 2. Regulation. Don't react immediately to discomfort. Pause. Breathe. Let the emotional wave pass without letting it dictate your behavior. This teaches your nervous system that uncertainty is survivable. Step 3. Self-investment. A grounded man has structure, purpose, discipline, direction. When your life is genuinely full, emotional distance doesn't feel like emptiness. It just feels like space. Step 4. Trust yourself. Not blind trust in her, but trust in yourself. Trust that you can handle any outcome without collapsing. A man who trusts himself becomes naturally calm under pressure, and that calm is the rarest, most attractive form of strength. If you found value in this, you need to subscribe right now. We're building a community of men who understand real psychology, who don't play games, and who show up as their best selves. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. When you handle distance correctly, something powerful shifts. The tension that once felt uncertain becomes magnetic. She begins to feel safer, not because you chased her, but because you didn't need to. Your consistency allows her nervous system to relax. Her fear softens, her instinct stops questioning your stability. And when that happens, closeness returns naturally, without pressure or pursuit. The moment she pulls away isn't the moment to panic. It's the moment to look inward. Distance doesn't ask you to chase. It asks you to check your foundation. So here's my question for you. When distance appears, do you crumble or do you remain grounded? That answer determines everything.